Welcome to my channel The Human Frontier. The first time Princess Kareth laughed at me, the entire War Council chamber followed. It wasn't cruel laughter, not exactly. It was amused, dismissive, the kind reserved for someone who clearly did not belong. I stood at the center of the Celestian Empire's Grand War Hall, a chamber carved from luminous crystal stone that shimmered with soft blue light. Holographic constellations floated above us, mapping the front lines of a war that had been grinding the Empire down for nearly a decade. And I, a human soldier in worn black combat armor, had just been introduced as her new military advisor. Princess Kareth leaned back in her elevated seat, golden armor gleaming beneath the chamber lights. Her silver hair fell over one shoulder like liquid moonlight, and her sharp violet eyes scanned me from head to toe. "This," she said, voice echoing through the hall, "is the Empire's solution." A few generals shifted uncomfortably. "The High Council has spoken, Your Highness," one of them said. "He comes highly recommended." "By whom?" she asked coolly. There was a brief pause. "By the Terran Coalition." The silence that followed was heavy. She gave a soft, disbelieving laugh. "A human soldier, advising me on warfare." Her gaze locked onto mine. "You look young." "I am," I replied evenly. "You've commanded how many fleets?" "Enough." The corner of her lips lifted. "That is not an answer." "No," I agreed. "It's a result." A few murmurs spread through the chamber. Her smile faded slightly. "You stand in the heart of the Celestian Empire," she continued. "Our enemies surround us. Entire star systems have fallen. What makes you believe you can offer anything my generals cannot?" I held her gaze calmly. "Because I've fought your enemy before." The room quieted. She tilted her head slightly. "You fought the Vorex Dominion?" "Yes, and I've never lost a war against them." This time, the laughter that followed was louder. Unrestrained. Princess Kareth shook her head slightly. "Bold claims for a soldier who looks barely old enough to shave." I didn't respond. I had grown used to that reaction. They always laughed first. The Vorex Dominion was not an enemy you underestimated. They were ancient, methodical, and ruthless. Their fleets moved like living storms, consuming star systems in calculated waves. They adapted quickly. They learned faster, and they had never been defeated by the Celestian Empire. 3 days after my arrival, they attacked again. A Vorex armada emerged from hyperspace near the Lyran Gate, one of the Empire's primary trade corridors. 32 capital ships, hundreds of strike cruisers. The War Council erupted into chaos. "They're targeting our supply chain. We must reinforce the gate immediately." Princess Kareth stood from her throne-like command chair, issuing orders rapidly. "Deploy the 3rd and 5th fleets. Form defensive lines at the outer perimeter. Do not let them breach the gate." I stepped forward. "If you do that," I said calmly, "you'll lose both fleets." Her eyes snapped to me. "And you know this how?" "Because that's what they want." The chamber went silent. "They're not attacking the gate," I continued. "They're baiting you. The main fleet will arrive through the secondary corridor once your forces are committed." One of the senior generals scoffed. "Speculation?" "No," I said quietly. "Pattern." Princess Kareth studied me carefully. "And your solution?" "Split your forces, but not evenly. Leave the gate appearing vulnerable. Hide your strongest fleet in the Nebula cluster behind the secondary corridor. When their main force arrives, trap them between the gate's gravitational distortions and your concealed fleet. A risky maneuver. Dangerous. Unconventional. Failure would cost us everything," one advisor warned. "Doing what you always do will cost you more," I replied. The princess held my gaze for a long moment. Then, slowly, she turned to her generals. "Do it." The battle at Lyran Gate became legend. The Vorex initial assault pressed forward aggressively, believing the Empire had fallen into their predictable defensive posture. Then, the second Vorex fleet arrived, exactly where I said it would. And waiting for them hidden in cosmic shadow was the Empire's strongest armada. The gravitational distortions of the gate disrupted Vorex targeting systems. Their formations tightened instinctively. That was their mistake. Princess Kareth commanded the flanking strike herself, her flagship cutting through enemy lines with devastating precision within 6 hours. The Vorax fleet was shattered. The Lyran Gate held for the first time in 7 years. The Empire had achieved a decisive victory. The War Council no longer laughed when I entered the chamber. Princess Kareth no longer leaned back casually in her seat. She leaned forward. Watching. Victory, however, does not end a war. It escalates it. The Vorax responded with fury. 3 separate offensives struck outer systems simultaneously. Colonies burned. Refugees flooded inner space. And once again, I found myself standing beside the princess in the war hall. You anticipated them once, she said quietly. Can you do it again? I don't anticipate, I replied. I understand. She studied me, then helped me understand. It was the first time she had asked, not challenged. We worked for days without rest, mapping Vorax movement patterns, analyzing their historical engagements, calculating probabilities. They adapt, she said. They always adapt. Yes, I agreed. But adaptation has limits. I pointed to the holographic map. They rely heavily on centralized command vessels. Destroy those, and their coordination collapses. That's nearly impossible, she said. They guard them with entire battle clusters. Then, we don't attack directly. Her eyes sharpened. Explain, we let them think they're winning. The trap of Solus Reach was the most dangerous gamble the Empire had ever taken. We staged a retreat, allowed key systems to fall strategically, drew the Vorax deeper into controlled space. Princess Kareth endured heavy criticism from her own council. They call you reckless, she told me one night as we stood overlooking the capital skyline. Are they wrong? I asked. She almost smiled. I don't think so. When the Vorax Armada advanced into Solus Reach, their command vessels positioned themselves centrally exactly as predicted. Hidden stealth fleets emerged from subspace, not targeting warships but targeting communication relays. The Vorax formation fractured without central coordination. Their tactical precision disintegrated. Then the Empire struck hard. Relentless. Princess Kareth led the charge personally, her flagship tearing through enemy lines like a blade of light. The Vorax Armada collapsed for the first time in history. The Dominion retreated beyond contested space. The war was not entirely over, but it was effectively decided. That night, the war hall was silent, not with fear. With awe. Princess Kareth approached me slowly. You said you had never lost a war. Yes, and now I know why. I met her gaze calmly. You don't win wars with pride, I said. You win them by understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. She studied me. No mockery left in her expression. When you first arrived, she admitted softly, I saw only a human soldier. An outsider. That's fair. I thought you arrogant. That's also fair. A faint smile touched her lips. But I was wrong, I said. Nothing. She stepped closer. You have never lost a war, she said. And now, neither have I. For a moment, the vast chamber felt smaller. Quieter. Not because of tension, but because of respect. Months later, peace negotiations began. The Vorax Dominion, fractured and weakened, sought armistice. Borders were redrawn, systems rebuilt. The Celestian Empire emerged stronger than it had been in decades. Princess Kareth stood before her council one final time before the treaty signing. History will remember this war, she said, but it will also remember something else. Her gaze shifted toward me. That victory does not come from tradition alone, nor from pride, nor from titles. The chamber listened in silence. It comes from wisdom, she continued, from courage to trust the unexpected, and from recognizing strength even when it stands before you in unfamiliar form. She stepped down from her elevated throne and stood beside me. The same hall where she had once laughed now watched in reverent quiet. She extended her hand, not as a ruler commanding a soldier, but as an equal acknowledging another. I took it, because I had never fought for recognition, only for victory. And in the end, The princess who once mocked me became the commander who understood me. The soldier she dismissed had never lost a war. And now neither had her empire. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more cinematic science fiction stories.